The inspiration for the songs because of you. The inspiration for the songs because of you. The inspiration for the songs because of you. You. It's for you. Can you sing it with me, baby? Can you sing it with me?
Hey, everybody, welcome to the debut of Relationshipology here on JQLM Radio. It's your girl, Lady J, and my co host, Keith Omar, is running a couple minutes late. So he's going to be joining us in just a few minutes, and we have a guest also that will be joining us. But I'm going to go ahead and get the formalities out of the way, as we always do before I introduce the show and what we're going to be talking about. So, if this is your first time tuning in to JQLM Radio, be sure to tell your family, friends, and followers to tune in as well. They can tune in by downloading the JQLM Radio app on their Apple or Android devices. You can also listen live on Amazon Alexa, TuneIn app, Stream a Simple Radio app, and a host of other platforms of which you can find on our website, where you can also listen live at egoentertainmentnet.com. Also, don't forget to follow, like, and share us on social media. You can follow JQLM Radio at JQLM Radio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, follow Ego Entertainment at EgoEntNet. That's EgoEntNet on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And make sure that you connect with us on LinkedIn as well at Ego Entertainment Network. Sorry, I almost forgot. Also, don't forget to connect with me on social media, Lady J. You can follow me on Facebook at Lady J Brand. I do follow back. Follow me on Instagram at LadyJ.co, on Twitter at JQ_1, also on LinkedIn at Lady J. And if you want to know more about myself and everything that I do, what's going on, make sure you stop by my website at LadyJ.co. So now that we have that out of the way, yeah, I'm trying to switch my cameras because yeah, my one of my cameras ain't acting right. But anyway, so relationshipology. Listen, together you either fall or fly. That is our tagline. Relationshipology is all about understanding the art of relationships, business, personal, romance, kinships, friendships, all the ships. So uh while we waiting on my co-host Keith Omar to come on, we don't know who we're gonna get today, whether it's gonna be Keith or Omar. Let me go ahead and introduce my guest, or our guest for tonight. I think we have some other guests coming on, I'm not sure, but um let me introduce her. You all know her. She used to be on JQLM Radio. She is still a part of Ego Entertainment Network, operating as an affiliate for our events team. Let's welcome Michelle P. Jones of Girl Talk to the show. Welcome, Michelle.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how you doing?
I am fantastic. How about you?
Good, good, good. Can't complain. Wouldn't do us no good, no way.
Would not do a bit of good to complain because guess what? It's not going to change nothing anyway.
Not at all. Not even a little bit.
Nope.
So, relationshipology. So before we get into our debut topic for tonight, which is all things relationships, so we're gonna be touching on friendships, business relationships, romance, parenthood, and all of that, just tidbits, because that's what we're gonna be talking about every week. We're gonna pick a topic and pick an area, but tonight, since this is the debut show, we just gonna run it down. So tell me, what was your first thought, or what comes to mind when you think about the word relationshipology? And yes, that's my word, y'all. I made it up, so don't be out here.
Yeah, I had to ask about that there word. All things relationships is kind of what went into my thought process, almost like the study of relationships is kind of the thought process that I had. So, it's not necessarily just for romantic relationships. It could be for any type of relationship. As you were talking, a thought came to mind because it was a term back in the day, bromance.
Yeah. Yep. Bromance. Yep.
Bromance.
I think Obama and Biden started that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I thought about.
Okay. So, relationshipology, when I decided, to revamp Pillow Talk, it was kind of on and off with life happening, you know what I'm saying? And we have been doing the show for a while. So I was like, let me see how we can kind of switch this thing up where we can kind of cover a lot more. Because to be honest, our relationships with our parents, our kids, our families, and all that stuff, that actually impacts how we interact with people at business, how we interact in our romantic relationships and things of that sort. So we just decided, let's just go ahead and just throw it all in there. Now let y'all know we do have segments on the show, but we won't be doing them tonight because this is the debut show. So we'll have segments of oh my God, wait, what? So that's a segment that you all are gonna hear every week, and that is gonna feature people doing off the chain stuff or off the chain stories concerning relationships. And let me just tell y'all, listen, I used to work at a place where, it was a major scandal going on. Okay. It was all over the news and everything. So, yeah, we got some stories for y'all. But anyway, and if we see y'all on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, Snapchat or whatever, acting a plum fool with your mate, with your kids at business or whatever, you're going to be in that segment. Oh my God. Wait, what? Like, also when we have we did keep Battle of the Sexes, so that it would be your trivia between the men and the women, and we still have the how well do you know your mate. So for those of you who are couples, don't come on here trying to play if y'all know good and well you don't pay attention to the small stuff. So y'all won't be leaving the show mad, okay? Because we've had that happen. All right. So and we will definitely be giving away stuff. So I'll be giving away tickets to the Valentine's Day comedy show coming up on February 11th with TP Hearn. It's going down here in the city anyway. And yeah, we'll be giving away stuff here on the show too. So that's a little bit about, excuse me, what you can expect on Relationshipology. So let's get into it. Michelle, so let's start with family. So we know that family relationships are some of the most heart-wrenching and can be some of the most tumultuous relationships. Now, personally, I will say a lot of people who know me know that I'm not close to my family. I don't really have relationships with I'll say my biological family, because family to me is more than just someone being a part of my DNA. So you're a relative at that point. To be family means so much more. So with you, tell me, because this is all about the art of understanding relationships with family. Tell me about the dynamics of your family and how that and how it is compared to the standard or the majority and what you see in society as far as the African American community.
Well, growing up, it was the traditional Black household, dual parent household. Everybody came to our house for holidays, for picnics, for cookouts. All the kids would be running around the yard. But as we have become adults ourselves, raising our own children, my mother has become the center of our world. There's not much that doesn't go on that does not revolve around her. And as my children have become adults, I'm noticing that they're not really into the intimate setting. We do the holiday get togethers and things like that, but everybody has their own idea of how they want to do this family thing. Plus, they have their own families to raise themselves. So,
Right.
my mother is truly the matriarch of our family. Everything centers around her. If Marva is not okay, nobody in the family is okay. If you do something to Marva, you're going to answer to about 5 generations. and that's pretty much how it's set up. As you know, I lost my brother this time last year. And it was really difficult for us because he was, when my father passed away, he kind of stepped into that role as being the male head of the household and of the family. And
Mhm.
he kind of took on the role of being there for his nephews specifically, but for all of his nephew and nieces, to make sure that he was presenting himself as a male role model for them to be able to start a business if that's what they wanted to do, and he would support them. If they just needed mentoring, then he was there to do that. And so what I am finding now is that as each generation becomes an adult, they kind of move a little bit further away from the close knit inner circle of the family. But they still have to answer to the moms now.
Right.
She's not having none of that. She will not be dethroned up under any circumstances. And so
So,
we still do the traditional stuff.
okay. Now, I know in my when I was growing up, so I started out in a two-parent home, but that was let's just say it wasn't conducive for raising kids. Um, but I did grow up with grandparents who were married until death. And I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and my grandmother, my grandmother and my grandfather was definitely the matriarch of our family when I was growing up, and my grandmother's no longer here. Excuse me. So she was kind of like the glue
Mhm.
and kind of kept everybody in order, or tried her best, to keep everybody in order. So I definitely understand that dynamics. Now, what I want to talk about though on the kind side. So yeah, you have that family dynamic, but we know that a lot of times in the African American community, you also have that downside to where when things are going on in the family that need to be addressed, it's always what goes on in this house stays in this house, and everything is a secret. And that tends, I think, to cause, well, it does cause division. And as your children and their children and their children gets older, um I think that the level of I'll say animosity and division kind of continues to grow and expand across the generations. So in regards to that, tell me how your family differs or maybe is similar.
I was raised up under that moniker. What goes on in this house stays in this house. Don't be going out in the street sharing our business. It's not for human consumption. It's what goes on in this house. However, when I raised my children, that wasn't necessarily how I chose to raise them.
Right.
Because a lot of times I'm a PK twice over. So there were a lot of things that we couldn't do for image sake.
Mhm.
And there were a lot of expectations that were put upon us because both of my parents were ministers. And so looking at that, it kind of created an avenue for me growing up that I didn't know who I was until I was well into my adult years. Because I was always trying to be who everybody expected me to be based on those relationships that I had growing up.
Right.
And I know that I have a lot of friends that did not that did not have what I had.
Mhm.
My father adored my mother. There was nothing that he wouldn't do for her, and there was nothing she wouldn't do for them. And I'm sure they had their arguments, but they didn't have them in front of us.
Right. Right.
I
Keith is
never heard
joining
them
me.
raise their voices to each other.
Keith is joining us now. He finally graced us with his presence.
Man, I was having technical difficulties.
I can see you in the background. But glad that you was able to make it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know who we getting today, Keith or Omar.
A little bit of both, probably.
Okay, okay. So we decided to kick it off with talking about family dynamics, family relationships, and then we're gonna get into the other one.
Yeah, I was kind of hearing it.
So Keith, tell us a little bit about your family dynamics growing up. Did you have the what goes on in this house stays in this house, everything is a secret? Was it two parents, one parent? How's that? How did that work?
Kind of the same with what you just heard. I'm a PK as well. My father pastored for 30 years. Um, Both parents were in a household. And it's funny that uh, like my dynamic is different from what the traditional household is nowadays. Like the traditional household nowadays is one parent in a house. And what I guess it kind of bothers me a little bit that people are all right with that, and that's just so normal.
Hmm.
That it kind of that bothers me. It really does. Um, but yeah, I have both parents in the household. I come from a household of education. My mother was a school teacher, and my father, like I said, he was a pastor. He also worked a full time job for General Motors as well. So he did General Motors for 35 years. My father was also in the military. He was a sergeant.
Hmm.
So like I didn't. The funny thing is, I didn't come from a house that was too strict.
Hmm.
We of course we had our rules that we had to follow. It was a dictatorship. There was no such thing as a child had a voice to, I
Absolutely
guess.
not.
Well,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you didn't, there was no such thing as, you had an opinion per se
Right.
about a rule or, a law in the house. So it was a dictatorship, but it was, like I grew up, I tell people all the time, I grew up great though, man. Like I had freedom. And what's so funny is I really appreciate my parents for allowing me this freedom because like I said, coming from the South, both my parents are from Mississippi, with strict backgrounds. They could have really been strict on me. Like that, especially my father being a pastor,
Hmm.
well known. Like it could have been strict. And then like my older brother, he was a knucklehead, so they could have really like tightened up on me, but they didn't. To their credit, they understood, my character, the kid I was, what I was gonna get into, what I wasn't gonna get into, what I was about, you know. And my house was not just my house. My house was home to a whole lot of kids.
mhm.
Hmm.
I mean, like I loved it. Like man, like I used to. When I say a whole lot of kids, like just a couple years ago, probably almost 3 years ago, my father passed away, and with the year following, my mother we moved her to Atlanta, and you know, me and one of my really close friends over 30 years, we're part owners of this moving company, and we was moving my mother, and so my mom was already in Atlanta in her new house, and we literally are packing up, everything in the old house, and we've been in this house for over 30 years. And like I said, when I say my house was home to a whole lot of children, it was home to a whole lot of kids. Like when I was a grown adult, like in my 30s, I used to have friends from high school still would drop in on my parents. And like I remember one day I was coming over and I saw a car in the driveway I didn't recognize, but I didn't see any of my parents' vehicles. I was like, who's this? Somebody must have came in from out of town or something. I was like, no, those are Indiana plates though. So I pull up, I walk into the door, and pretty much every light is off in the house but the TV light. I'm like, okay, I walk in. It's one of my boys stretched out on the couch with a plate on the floor next to him. I'm like, dude, for real. So I walk over, I tap him like, dude. He like, oh man, why you wake me up? I was sleeping good. I was like, what you doing here? He's like, oh man, I stopped in on mama and daddy. I haven't seen mama and papa for a minute since I was over here around the way. He was like, I was like, but man, you ate my roast beef sandwich. He's like, oh man, mama said I can have it. She said you supposed to be here a couple days ago to pick it up, but you wasn't here. So I helped myself. I mean, it was crazy. But the thing is, that is not an uncommon thing.
Yeah.
Since, I
It's
mean,
not a common
it,
thing now. It wasn't uncommon back then. It was common back then, but it's not common now.
It's
I,
not.
I
Yeah, it's not at all. Yeah, not at all.
yeah.
But it's just so funny. Like, like since, our show is about relationships, it's so funny how I retain friendships all because of how I was brought up.
Yes,
Mhm. Yeah.
exactly.
It is so funny how I retain relationships with friends all because how I was brought up. Like when I say my house was the spot, everybody has visited my home. That went like I no exaggeration. I would probably say every black student in my high school between my junior and senior year of high school, I would probably say at least 70 to 75% of them has been at my house.
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Well,
At
that was how it was
least.
when I was growing up. Our backyard was huge. It was like two properties,
Hmm.
and
right.
that was
Hmm.
the spot. You play outside and everybody's running around, and then the dreaded street lights.
Yeah, boy.
To be in
So
person.
if you
Gotta
was
be in
anywhere
person.
else but in our yard when the street lights came on, you better hurry up and get home because you should
That's
already been
right.
in the house.
That's right.
Hmm.
So that based on how we grew up, tell me a little bit because I know for me, based on how I grew up, we tend to repeat some of the things that we learned in our
Oh
environment.
yeah.
For me, I grew up in a domestic violence household. So and then that turned into my mother being a single parent and a whole bunch of other stuff that became worse, a bunch of abuse and all this other kind of stuff. So I know for me, and growing older, entering into uh romantic relationships, I tend to repeat those things. I should say then, not now, because clearly no.
Hmm.
But uh those things that we grow up around in our environment, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, we become products of our environment instead of exceptions to our environment. I will say that I am probably the exception. But when we first starting out and we're learning, we take what we know or what we've learned or what we've been exposed to into other types of relationships. So tell me, how does your romantic relationships, or how have they over the years reflected your environment as kids?
Mine's really didn't. Mine's didn't. Because like I said earlier, I really didn't know who Michelle was. I knew who everybody expected Michelle to be. And so I tried to live up to that standard. And not really knowing who I was until I was well into my 20s, one of the things that I found myself was gravitating to the bad boy, somebody that was totally opposite of what I had when I was growing up. Because I'm a daddy's girl. And so
Mhm,
there was nothing that I couldn't get from my dad. There was nothing my dad wouldn't do for me. There were even
mhm,
times when he played interference between me and my mom because it's kind of like what Keith said. You know, not only was what goes on in this house stays in this house,
mhm.
but remember your place. A child is supposed to stay in a
Yeah.
child's place.
Mhm. Right, right.
So, and on top of me being a daddy's girl, I'm the youngest of four. And so I was the last one. So there was a lot of things that I got away with that my siblings didn't get away with.
Mhm,
But there was structure and there were rules. So because sometimes the grass does look more attractive and greener on the other side. So
mhm.
you venture out over there and you realize that ain't what you thought it was. And so you find your way back home. So that's kind of what it was for me.
Hmm. Keith, how does yours? How did your
My
environment
p-
affect your
it,
relationship?
you my environment was I did copy a lot of what my parents did. My parents like I watched them and I watched how they operate. They operated as a team, but I also understood there were certain things between them that you know I I wanted more of. You know what I'm saying? I wanted more. Like when I grew up, I was a daddy's boy
Mhm,
at first. until the girls start coming along. Once my sisters start popping up, man, it was a wrap. It was over with. That all got shut down. It was done. So that run lasted, for about a good 8 years. You know what I'm saying? But hey, when 8 came around, it was a wrap. It was a done deal. So and then I end up I turned into a mama's boy a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. I turned into a mama's boy a little bit.
Is that a good mama's boy or a bad mama's boy?
There's a difference.
No, I was a good mama's boy. Like my personality has never been. My personality has never been spoiled. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
My personality has never been entitled. So like I've never had those like, and then my family wouldn't allow that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's something that that wasn't gonna be allowed. You know what I'm saying? Now I will say this: I was my grandmother's favorite child. Also, like I didn't get in trouble with my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm the only. I'm proud to say this too. I am the only grandchild that never got a whooping by my grandparents. I'm the only grandchild that has never got whooping by my grandparents. So but I never did. Like I said, I was never mischievous. My mom would even co-sign on that. She's like, "Nah, he wasn't bad. He didn't." The biggest thing I got in trouble for was leaving the block without letting them know where I was. Mm-hmm. That would be like the worst thing I probably would ever do. Is leave leave the block without letting them know where I was. I would get in trouble for that all the time because as a kid, you're so excited. You with everybody, so.
Right.
You don't think to run back to the house to say, "Hey, I'm going 3 blocks over to go play over here." You know what I mean? You just kind of went.
Yep.
So that'd be the worst thing I ever did. You know what I'm saying? But and my mom would co-sign on that.
I had checkpoints.
See,
we had literal checkpoints. There was, if I got in trouble in the neighborhood, my parents knew about it before I got home.
We did.
Oh yeah, the neighborhood, the hood talk. Yeah, we had that, but my mother wanted to know where you were. Like my mother was like, "Where you at?"
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Like she was one of those people. Where are you at?
No,
like I don't care who you was with. I care where you at.
No, they would call and they'll say, "Do you know Michelle is over here?" And I'm like, "Well, y'all stop telling on me."
Well,
we didn't have that.
We're gonna have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're gonna get into these business relationships turned friendships turned friends with benefit relationships. So so stick and stay, y'all. We'll be right back. You are tuned into Relationshipology right here on JQLM Radio, a division of Ego Entertainment Network.
Book your next event at the Gallery Event Center. The 1,600 square foot space offers packages and a la carte services and items. All packages include tables, chairs, projector, and screen, a 60-inch Apple TV, wireless microphone, a kitchenette, EV speaker system with surround sound, so no DJ is needed, cell phone charging station, and plenty of parking. Birthday parties, baby showers, bridal showers, pop-up shops, and more. Book now at thegalleryeventcenter.com or call 317-534-6399 or take a tour at 5852 East 82nd Street, Indianapolis, Indiana. The Gallery Event Center. Book your event with us today.
Simply Serenity Empire and YizorTV.com presents the Valentine's Day Comedy Show with headliner T.P. Hearn as seen on BET and Def Comedy Jam, featuring Louisville's Meech Dog, Lil Stephanie, Indy's own Denise the Comedian, and the original DJ Flip. Hosted by Robert Sweaty Hands Day. It's going down February 11th at 8 p.m. inside the ballroom located at 7055 East 16th Street in Indianapolis, Indiana. Doors open at 7 p.m. General admission is $20. Table seats are $30. VIP is $40. Get your celebrity comedian meet and greet tickets for only $10. Meet and greet begins at 5:30. Doors open at 5 o'clock. Pictures will not be allowed after the show. Get your tickets now at simplyserenityempire.com. That's simplyserenityempire.com. Temperature checks and masks will be required to enter. COVID rules will be reinforced. If you're tired of hearing the same music and content every 5, 10, or 15 minutes on air, then check out JQLM Radio for the realest, rawest, and most relevant variety of music, talk shows, and more. Start your days with a little bit of gospel and gospel rap from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All of my life, I've never known you to fail. You deliver me. 'Cause all I seem to do is coming and breaking it down with that wicked style, man. We really living it out, don't miss it.
Then get into some hot R&B.
Say baby, what you doing? Excited.
Some hip hop.
Falling in deep with the quicksand. Flag on my hand, oh quick run. I was packing on the pound, got my
time and I heard that
a little bit of pop, and some neo soul for the rest of the day. JQLM Radio, real, raw, and relevant. All right, and we are back here on JQLM Radio. You are tuned into Relationshipology, and we have a guest, Michelle Jones. We got our boy Keith Omar, my co-host, and we've been talking about, well, first we were talking about family dynamics. Then we got into how that impacted our relationships as we got older, as far as romantic relationships are concerned. Now let's get into these business relationships turned friendships. Sometimes they go sour, sometimes they don't turn situationships, FWBs. If y'all don't know what that is, it's friends with benefits. So we're just, for the debut show, we touch it on just a little bit of everything, just talking about the dynamics of them. Weekly we'll pick an area and a topic, of course, and dig deep into it. But so tell me, y'all, when it comes to these business relationships, so we know that it's difficult for people to keep business and personal separate, especially if you're doing business with a friend or you go into business together with someone that you're friends with, maybe somebody that you're in a romantic relationship with. Honestly, I think that if they're a really good friend, I mean, y'all can kill the game in business. If you're with somebody who is dedicated to not just the relationship, but is dedicated to what it is that you all are actually building together, that can be awesome as well. But we know those things can go sour, sometimes. So I know for me personally, I have I have gone into business with a couple of people before, and I've had things go sour. I've had things go really bad. I mean, some of you may know the story with the radio station. Listen, I don't know. That stuff can be tricky. It can be real tricky if you're not careful. And I think when you go into business with people, or when you start a business relationship with somebody and then it turns into personal because you're working with somebody a lot, you get to know the person, personally. So you have to consider who they are as a person, as well as their ethics when it comes to business, because who they are as a person also impacts, how they operate in business. And I learned that, and I saw that firsthand when I first started the radio station back in 2016. And you start to see how that person's personal behavior spills over into business. And if it's not conducive to, what your standards and expectations and morals and values and beliefs are, then it can be really bad for business and for you and your brand. So I don't know. What are y'all thoughts as far as business relationships? Like, have you had any business relationships that have gone amazing, or things that have felt, or ones that have fallen apart?
I've had some good business relationships, but I also would like to, make sure people understand the whole idea of friends as well. I think too many people call people friends, but they actually are associates. So they
True.
jump into business with these people and they think, because you can actually go out and have a good time with these people that, you see eye to eye on certain things and then that translates to the business. No, because you'll have some people who are used to being a boss, so
Mm-hmm.
they treat you like an employee versus a business partner.
Mm.
You
Oh,
know what I'm
that's
saying? So you have to understand,
that's good,
like
right?
you do, you really have to understand. You have to understand who it is you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Like you were saying, you have to understand the person. Because all too often, how they run a business is not the idea of how you run a business. So I always say, if you're going to sit down with anyone to do business with them, what you need to do is you need to sit down and understand what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses individually,
Mm-hmm.
so you can understand what it is that you need to play a role in. So if my role is, let's say I was strong in finance, um, but I'm not as good as a front person, then hey, I'm gonna handle all the background stuff when it comes to the finance, and then I need you to, go out here. You need to speak to, you need to speak to whoever it is. You need to speak
Right.
to, be the representative of the company because you're good at, public
You
speaking,
face.
or
Right.
you're good at, you're good at, just people relations in general.
Mm.
So I've always been pretty good with the people relation stuff. I have a good credibility. People know me, you know what I'm saying, to be honorable and always, fight to honor my word. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. If I can't, it's not because it was lack of effort, And I think over 30 years of people knowing me, they know that's just who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard, real hard to go out here and find anybody that's willing to badmouth me in any way, shape, or form, because I'm consistent with who it is I've always been. That I get that from my parents, especially my father. I've seen my father operate as one person his whole entire life. Like, and I take that to, I didn't realize until I became, well, I say a little over 30, how much I've taken away from my parents.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
When about 30 came around, I realized, like, yo, I'll run this, I'll run certain things like my dad. I operate and think a lot like my mom in a sense. Like, I never realized it just never dawned on me until I, like 30, around 30 hit. Then I realized it, like, yo, I picked up a lot actually. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize I was learning, these habits.
Right.
So
Michelle,
yeah,
what
but I always tell people, I just say, like I said, I always tell people, like you said, make sure you know who it is that you're dealing with, but also you need to figure out, like, what your strengths and weaknesses are. I think that's what makes the business successful.
awesome. What about you, Michelle?
Well, although I have my businesses, I have not gone into business with friends. I have seen what it has done to people that I know, especially individuals that were friends and then they decided to add a sexual relationship to the mix.
Mm.
Um, and it did not bode well, because when you mix, when, like he said, if you don't set those boundaries, those ground rules, and know what you're bringing to the table and understand what your role is in the business and the other person's role is in the business, and then you add a sexual relationship to it, and the sexual relationship roles may be totally different than the roles that are within the business. And so now you have conflict.
Right. Right.
And one of the things that I've always been told, is you don't, where you sleep, where you eat,
Hmm.
where
Yeah.
you do business,
Yep. Yep.
because it can mess with your bottom line. It will impact the money that's going into that bank account. Because let's face it, if you're not secure in who you are, how you handle business after that will be destructive.
Mhm.
Because now you got to get back at them.
Right. I
And
think that for me, it,
also to add to what Michelle's saying,
mhm,
it's another thing too. Once you start sleeping with your business partner, what ends up happening is at some point in time, how you treat your relationship
Mhm.
is how you're going to treat your business.
Yes.
So you feel like you can take advantage of, your partner because you have this sexual relationship. So now it's you might not mean to do it, but you start to manipulate the situation. So like, hey, I really don't feel like coming in today, or I don't feel like doing this today, I don't feel like doing that today. Like, so you just kind of like, well, I don't feel like it. So you can deal with it today.
right.
Like, no, that it don't work like that when it comes to business. You know what I'm saying? You can't expect, like I tell people all the time, if you work a 9 to 5, do you go to work for 4 hours and then leave and expect to get paid for 8?
Don't happen on my job.
No.
Right. Right.
So it can't happen when you run a business. In
Right.
fact, you should expect to work 8 hours and only get paid for 4
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's how
when you run a business.
it is. I think that's the difference between being friends first and going into business versus being in a relationship and building something together.
Yes.
So, um,
Hmm.
now I will say I have gone into business. I do have business partners that I am still friends with, and we great. Shout out to Raishi. Hey, girl. No, uh,
That's my girl.
and we do well. Um, in that, but I will say too, let me just pause for a second here because we've touched on several types of quote unquote ships. I
Yeah.
think that for me, I get to really truly grasp and see what it means to really be in relationship with someone. I don't care what kind of what type of relationship it is, but especially when it comes to relationships that impact you emotionally and mentally. So anything pertaining with a quote unquote family, whether it is a God orchestrated family or it is your relatives, or romantic relationships, and of course your kids, but they would be in the family category. Those types of relationships, um, that is where you gain a true understanding of what it means to for teamwork.
Hmm.
So, um, people give up so easily when there's a dry spell or hardships or what I'm saying, financial issues or whatever. If the friendship or somebody dies in the family, or I don't know, the man or the woman cheats, or or they fall on hard times because maybe the guy lost his job or whatever the case may be. People are so quick to, if it doesn't change in this amount of time, or if this person doesn't forgive
Hmm.
this amount of time, or if this person doesn't get over this in this amount of time, then I'm out, because clearly it's not going to change. But here's the thing that that I see a lot of, and I think because I've endured so much trauma, I have a high tolerance for one, understanding that nobody
Shortcomings.
well understanding that nobody is perfect,
Yeah.
making room for disappointment, and
Hmm.
giving people the benefit of the doubt, extending grace where grace really shouldn't be given, because I'm what I'm saying is equal to, let's say, what God gives us. That grace that we
Hmm.
extend to other people, we want it, but we don't like to extend it. We say we know people aren't perfect, but when tragedy strikes, when hardship strikes, it's like, oh, I'm unhappy, so I'm out, or I'm not or I'm not feeling this no more, or the spark is gone, or we not making that much money in business,
Hmm.
so I think we should just let's go our separate ways and dissolve this thing, and what I'm saying, maybe we can figure out
I
what we're.
agree.
I'm like, nothing worth having is going to be easy. It's
That's
going to
right.
be hard. It's going to be hard. And so when I look at people in families, now I'm not saying you stay in relationship with family and business and friends and stuff like that with people who are toxic. Anybody who's abusing you, misusing you, or, you know what I'm saying, talking down to you, that's one thing. But when you have people in your corner, and I'm gonna just give y'all a quick example. You have somebody like so I had the ruptured brain aneurysm. Everybody knows that. I had business
Mhm.
friends who were waiting on business services. They had already paid for those things. We had just opened up a building, me and Raishi and you know, and my friend Jermaine. Now they could have decided to, you know, go their separate ways and, you know, drag y'all. I didn't get what I needed, you know what I'm saying? Also the kind of stuff I didn't pay for this, but because of the relationship that I have with people, because of how I treated them, they waited until I came back a year and a half. That goes to show like how you treat people is important. A year and a half they waited on their own business. They're waiting to get business services. There are plenty of people out here that do what I do. Plenty of people. But because of the time and the effort that I put into that, they waited. I'm trying to figure out, why is it so hard for us when it comes to those types of relationships where it really hits emotionally and mentally? Why is it so easy for us to walk away?
I got the answer for that.
I think it plays in with how you see yourself. You can't give to other people what you don't give to yourself. And so if you are not secure in who you are, and you haven't seen what a true friendship looks like, and you don't know how to be a good friend, then it's only about what you're getting out of the relationship. And so if you are no longer serving me in the way that I need for you to serve me, then there's really no use for you in my life. So I'm going to exit stage left and go get what I feel like I need from elsewhere, because you're no longer in a position to meet my need or to give me what it is that I say I want. And I think that's a lot of times what our problems are, because I deal with clients all the time. And there are clients that I turn away because we're not a good fit. And I'm good with that. I know there's people that when they talk to me, they might say, I don't want to deal with Michelle. That's cool. I would rather do it up front and be done with it and send you the nice little thank you for the time, but we're not a good fit. You don't meet my vision, my purpose, nor my values for my company at this time. And allow them to go somewhere else. We don't do that because we want to be on the end. We want, Lady J is the end right now. I need to be seen with her. I need to be where she's at. I need for people to know that I'm connected to her, because me being connected to her is going to open some doors for me. So as long as I play this game, then I'm going to be able to get what I need from her. But when she is no longer in a position to be that door opener for me,
That's it.
and I need to go find somebody else to replace her that is going to be able to get me before those people and get me in those doors that I can't get myself in.
That's it. That's it.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I have titles for those. So the thing is, people don't have business relationships anymore. They have business userships.
There it is.
And what it is you're using people, to get to that next plateau, versus building a relationship with them to where you'll never fall. Like it always puzzles me when, especially I'm going to say amongst us as Black people more than anything else, we'll run a Black business. So you'll get a Black business. Let's say you open your business within 3 years and you knock it out the park. Like you knock it out the park to where you are now considered in your profession as one of the best to do whatever it is that you do within a 3-year time span. And like you said, Lady J, it might be a whole bunch of people that do what you do. But you're considered one of the best. And now since you're considered one of the best, what happens is a lot of people are scared that they will lose that title. So they don't want to help anyone else who's coming up behind them to get to where they're at. Hey, man, I did this, I did that. Hey, you need to these are certain resources that you need to get into. They won't do that. What they'll do is, oh, man, I just worked hard and I put my nose to the grindstone and I just believed and I prayed about it.
What
Like,
about this,
that's
King?
okay. We all do that, but you're not sharing how you did that. The what? You know what I
But what
mean?
about the ones that
But,
pimp you for your knowledge?
but see, this is the thing. You
Yep.
only get pimped for your knowledge if you allow it.
Mhm.
There's those that be
See,
trying to come through the door. They'll
Yep.
be, and
I
you
know,
know that
and
that's
I
what
get
they're
that.
doing.
Now, hold on.
Right,
This
I get that. But like I said, you gotta allow it though. You have to. First of all, can't nobody do something to you that you won't
That you don't
allow.
allow, right? Did
well,
you
You
notice
know what
I
I'm
said
saying?
try to pimp you? That's
Yeah,
their
yeah, yeah.
intent.
I got that.
yeah.
That's
I
their intent. Absolutely.
so when it
Those are
comes
leeches. That's what I call them.
Oh,
yeah, definitely. When it comes to business, that's aspect of it too. Now, when you talk about family, they take advantage too because it's
oh yeah.
like, oh,
Absolutely.
it's like, oh well, she'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? Or he'll be all right. Like
Because they feel entitled. They
they
feel entitled.
when it comes to when it comes to your kids, for instance, they like, oh shoot, my mama, she, you know what I'm saying, you know, I'll probably just get a whip on her, get on, you know, what I'm saying, be on punish her a week or
Yeah,
so, you
yeah.
know, it's okay, my mama ain't never going nowhere. But then if what happens when uh what happens when daddy leaves, or you know what I'm saying, or mama ain't here no more, whatever
Hmm.
it may be. And then when it comes to romantic relationships, it's like, well, oh, they gonna forgive me, you know what I'm saying, they'll
Oh yeah.
forgive,
Right,
or it's,
right.
well, it's, or it could be, you know, pointing out this person's flaws all the time and not appreciating the grace that they keep continue to extend you, and you not really addressing your own flaws, you know what I'm saying. So in that,
Hmm.
you're taking advantage. And so that kind of, that when people operate that way across all of those different types of you know, platforms when it comes to relationships. And it's like, I think that this is good. We're gonna have to get into this to it, you know. On another show. I got a lot to say about this, okay? Because these last 2 years, I have learned a lot um about extending grace to people and loving on people who don't love you back in that same regard,
Hmm.
or who, or extending grace to people and appreciating people's business or connection or relationship, and they don't extend that same thing to you. It hurts when you have been called to serve others and to love others in spite of how
Hmm.
you,
Yes.
how they overlook you,
But
how they walk away from you. It that is a
yep,
thing. But
very hurtful.
people do it in all of those types of relationships.
Hmm. The thing is, Lady J, what I've learned out of that is this. It's funny. I had this conversation like almost a month ago, and I said I understand that I am a better friend to most than they are to me.
Hmm.
I know that going into it, and I'm fine with it though. Like it used to bother me, don't bother me no more. The reason why it don't bother me no more is at the end of the day, I'm happy with who it is that I am.
There you go.
Now, that don't mean I'm going to allow them to abuse me and overuse me. That don't mean I'm going to allow that. I am going to, that means I just need to be more strict and stern on how much of me that they're going to have access to.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's what that means to me. So like I've learned this in the past probably like 5 to 7 years of okay, well, there's certain friends that I have that will run through a door for me just like I would for them.
Mhm.
There's certain people that will extend themselves in the same measure. They might not extend themselves the same way, but they'll extend themselves in the same measure as I would. Like there's things that you also have to learn about yourself. Like, hey, you are too giving to this particular person because you sympathize and empathize with them
Yes.
too much.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Or there's some that you don't do enough for. Like so that's all a part of creating a boundary. Like I try my best to when I if as far as my business go, I try my best to be keep everybody on the same level. And the reason why is because if I do, that means I can't say I extended myself so far for this particular person, but not for that one.
Mhm.
If they all on the same level, they all have the same expectations of me.
Mhm.
You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Like but then there's also some people that you're just gonna do more for. I don't care who that is. Like mama call you, you gonna do more for mama. Let's just
Yeah.
call it for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Your very best friend, they call you, you just gonna do more for them. You're gonna make sure your services is a little more on point for a little less. Let's just call it for what it is. But outside of that circle, you know what I'm saying? Everyone is on the same level. And I think, when it comes to your friendships, it's also a little different too. Like I was talking to my best friend like 2 weeks ago about this. And I was telling her, I was like, yo, she got on me one time about the word about how I displayed myself with someone. So like this is a story. This is so funny. I laugh about it now, but they all are on board with me now. They thought I was being mean then, but they're on board with me now. So I was at I happened to run into a friend from college, and she's truly a friend. And we happened to see another person from college and their boyfriend. Then they kind of, how you see people like, hey, we ain't seen y'all forever, so we having this conversation.
Hold on.
This young lady,
Before you finish, let's plug real quick for all the radio listeners. Thank you all the radio listeners. Let's plug for them so we can close out for them. We can continue on social media.
Right.
Stuff on how they can follow you and connect with you, Keith.
All right, so you can follow me at Keith Omar Jackson on Facebook. You can follow me on King Keith Omar on Instagram. I just started TikTok. I haven't even made a TikTok yet, but when I get that pumping, I'll make sure I start putting that out there. But those are two avenues you can follow me at. Of course, you can follow me here. So, every Friday night, you can catch us here.
All right, Michelle?
You can catch me on Facebook, Michelle P. Jones. I'm on Instagram as Michelle Farisa. That's Pharesa. And on TikTok, I'm Michelle Farisa. And then, of course, you can always hit me up on my website with any contacts at www.michellepjones.com. as in PaulJones.com.
Awesome. And you go to ladyj.co and you can connect with me on all social media platforms, all the different brands there, everything. ladyj.co. And shout out to Jacob Alexander. Make sure you go get his new music at jacobalexandermusic.com.
Right.
His song is the intro song for Relationshipology.
The show, right.
JQLM radio listeners, we're almost at 50,000 listeners for this month, and it's only the 14th of January.
We appreciate these people too.
All right.
Okay, so now that we have the JQLM radio listeners out the way, we are
knocked out, right?
On there, so you can continue your story for social media.
All right, so so this is the story. So my friend and the young lady that I'm gonna say she's an associate. The associate and her boyfriend walks up. So we're talking. She goes to introduce me, and she said, "Oh, this is my friend Omar." I was like, "Wait a minute." I was like, "I wouldn't say we're necessarily friends." And so, like, of course, the wide eye kind of happened. Like, oh, wait a minute, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I would say associates. I was like, now I don't mean any. I said I don't mean any disrespect or flack on this. I was like, I just don't use the word friend loosely. I was like, for example, if we were friends, what's my son's name?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, she don't know that. I was like, if we're friends, do you have my phone number? You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, so I just I don't use it loosely. I was like, we're associates though. Anytime I see her, I'm gonna say hi and give her a hug and wish and well wishes, and we, do a little small catch up, and that be that. And so, like, she kind of, you could see her feelings was almost hurt. But her boyfriend, he understood exactly what I was talking about. So he was like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I totally get what you're saying. He's like, that would be like people I work with. I've been at my job for 17 years. I know these people, but I wouldn't call them friends. Mm-hmm. We don't hang out after work. Right. Like, half of them don't. He's like, more than half of them don't have my phone number. Hell, I'd be surprised if half of them knew my last name. But I've been there 17 years. You know what I'm saying? So he totally understood where I was coming from. So my best friend, as I was telling her the story before, she was like, you was being a butthole. I was like, no, I wasn't.
Mhm.
I was, and like she was kind of you like defending her, and I was like, okay, Davida, if I was being a butthole, let's just call it for what it is. I wasn't. I was like, let me explain. So you mean to tell me she is a level or two right underneath you, and she ain't got my phone number or know my son's last name or first name? And she was like, I understand what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Okay. Like, you have to put things in a raw perspective sometimes. And I was like, so I don't use that word friend loosely at all. Like, not at all. I tell people in a heartbeat, like, I don't even introduce people as friends. I just introduce them.
That's
Like,
what
I be
I
like,
was
hey,
gonna
this is
say.
so and so.
That's what I was gonna say. I would be like, if it's somebody that I'm really close to, this is my girl or this is my guy. You
Right.
know, I don't even
I don't even
use
say the word
that word
friend.
friend. I don't even use
Me
it
either. Me
because
either.
people start thinking that there's liberties and opportunities and
Yep.
things that come with
Yep.
that terminology.
Very
And I don't do that. But one of the things that I have found just from what you said, and that's why I did like this to you, just from what you said, her face was busted because she was pretending.
Well, I don't
And
think she's pretending. I think what happens is society has made it so acceptable to just use that
well,
title loosely,
not
like the
so
word
much
love.
anymore, Omar. Not so much anymore. Not so much. Because they will throw out the word associate quicker than they will the word friend. Not anymore.
especially in business, because they always say, "Hey, this is my associate or this is
Yeah,
my coworker." When you are working with somebody and you introduce them as a friend, you really think that you on that level with that
that's
person.
right.
When you
Hmm.
That's different if it's different if you met somebody at the club while you know what I'm saying you was out with your boys or while you was out with your boo or whatever the case may be, or when you met somebody at church or at the gas station and y'all just was chopping it up, getting to know each other, and y'all developed a
True.
friend. Or still, if they don't like have your number or have ever been to your house or something, you probably still wouldn't consider them a friend. But when you are introducing people that you work with just because you've been working with them for a long time, you actually then start to see yourself as that person's friend, even though you're really just an associate. And because
Right.
there are people who have known me for I'm 38. 38? Yeah, I'm 38.
Had to think about that thing there, Lady J.
Charge to my head and it's memory, okay? 38 years old. There are people who have known me my entire life, but treated me like I'm just somebody you just met. And then there are people who have just met me and they are much better to me than those people who have known me my entire life. So the length of time that you know somebody has absolutely nothing to do with the level
Nothing to do. True. True.
of friendship, whether you're a friendship or whether you're a friend or an associate. It's all about,
Hmm.
again, when you are building a relationship with somebody, that requires quality time consistently
And communication.
and communicate. Yeah, quality
I
time,
think more important consideration too.
That too.
consideration, and it requires a level of, again, of grace. It requires a level of forgiveness because
Agree.
people are
Agree.
gonna mess up. You have to make room for disappointment. They're going to disappoint you.
Hmm.
Disappoint them. The thing is to look at the overall. We always say let's look at the person's behavior. That's wrong. I think that's all
That's
wrong.
wrong.
You need to look at the person's heart and their spirit. That will tell you who they truly are. Anybody that is consistent in and willing to better themselves for themselves and for your relationship is always somebody that you should keep. That's somebody that you
Yeah.
should. If you throw away people like that because you're what I'm saying, you mad at them for something, or just because you mad at them for a little bit, or y'all not cool for a while, y'all got a little downspout, you done fell out, yeah, you're not able to come to grips with, what I'm saying, what's going on. I mean, that's when that's instead of just walking away or throwing the person away and throwing away like what y'all done worked hard, what I'm saying, to build. together, and whether that be business friends. Y'all been friends for 25 years, you know what I'm saying? You've been in a relationship, y'all been, they've been through everything or whatever. That's when you bring in somebody else, like a counselor or something, because some things are too hard to
Yeah.
get through by yourself. Or if it's a circle of friends, you had the other friend come in and hey,
We
say your part, you say your part. But people feel like they don't have to do that. And in the workplace, a lot of places, especially corporations, have they give you access, or it's included in your package, where you can actually get those services, and it's included in your benefits. But we don't take advantage of those things. That's why I said we throw away good things looking for better things, when you could
But
turn that
Lady J, you have to also think about it in regards to sometimes the season of that relationship has come to an end. The expiration date has come and gone, and
absolutely.
you're still trying to
Yep.
hold on because you are so used to having this person in your life, or they have been good to you or whatever. But it's what I normally say, and I've had probably within the last 3 years, my inner circle has gotten really, really small. It's really, really small. And one of the reasons is because I truly believe people come into our lives for a moment, a season, and some people are a lifetime. It's our responsibility
Hmm.
to know when they are to leave. And then just the same way as we don't drink spoiled milk, don't keep subjecting yourself to an expired relationship,
this
because then that person is going to take advantage of the situation and you'll be
Yep.
the one that gets hurt.
This is true. This is why I said to look at the person's heart and their spirit versus
Yeah.
their
Their
versus
actions.
or their behavior. Because when you look at a person's heart or their spirit, that is what determines whether or not that is somebody you should keep or let go. And what I'm saying is, a lot of times society has us this in this quitting people, mentality, or
Yeah.
Cancel culture.
a cancel culture, that we're canceling and walking away from the wrong people. That's why I said, anybody that is willing and is consistent in constantly bettering themselves and the relationship, that's somebody that you need to commit to continuing in a relationship, because that is rare. It is rare
Yep.
days. And anybody that is not, those are the people that you need to walk away from. Those are the people that you need to distance yourself from. Those are the people that you need to, remove from your circle. And that's what I'm starting to see. I'm of course, I know that from my own personal experience, but that's what I'm starting to see, because everybody just canceling everybody. Oh, you did this. Oh, yeah, now you could. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you could. You know what I'm saying? Even in
Yeah.
relationships, I can't tell you how many people I know, especially one of my a person that I've known a long time. Let's just say that they messed up in their relationship and thought that, like, oh, um, they cut the person off or whatever, and went on, felt like they could do better, and then realized later on, you got a late revelation that, well,
Hmm.
you contributed to this as well. And just because it didn't happen the way it didn't happen in the time that she wanted it to, had you stayed and committed in that thing, because what we forget is we're human. Nobody's going to be happy 100% of the time. Nobody's going to be,
Yep.
you're not going to be pleased 100% of the time.
Right.
Some of the storms that friends go through, it could be an illness, you know what I'm saying? It could be falling out, whatever. In businesses, you got furloughs, you got people getting laid off, or you got the hybrid work days, you know what I'm saying? Relationships hit dry spells and stuff, and that could last a year, it could last the 2 years. But what are you doing, actively doing, together and apart, individually for yourself and together, to work on that, to make sure? Because when you see that and you know it's something worth keeping, then you should do the work. It ain't supposed to be easy all the time. It ain't gonna be just screaming all the time. But so that's
Hmm.
seeing, especially during COVID, like, everybody just canceling everybody. Like, y'all need to get it together out here. Like, get it together. Cause all y'all gonna be
Yeah, I
old
agree.
and miserable.
I agree.
So
I
I agree.
agree.
I agree.
I think it's funny though, but like you said, because so also often, we are cutting people off too early, and then also often we're keeping some people around that should have
Way
been cut
too
off.
long.
You know what I'm saying? And I think it's because a lot of it is you're loyal,
mhm,
that you are just a loyal person. So you want to be loyal to whomever been around for any kind of longevity to you.
mhm,
Like I found myself in that relationship with somebody, and I had to cut them off. I cut them off because they actually started to reflect on me. Like, even though that wasn't my program and that wasn't my thing, but because I hung tight with that person, and
mhm,
everybody known me to be with that person, like, we Batman and Robin almost.
mhm,
Anytime you see them, now I'm not probably not too far away, and vice versa. So I've actually had people tell me, yo, I fell back off you because of that person. Oh,
mhm,
word? Yeah. So like when I realized, yo, that person's actions is starting to, hinder my relationships with people, I can't allow that. I gotta let you go because
that's that
I'm
toxic.
responsible. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm responsible for. I am responsible. I always look at it like this: if I am not the reason why people are looking at me sour, I need to look at why are people looking at me sour.
Exactly.
Mhm,
If I'm not the reason, because I've had people tell me it wasn't you, it's just that I know you align yourself with that particular person or that particular thing. Oh, okay. That means I done outgrown it. It's
mhm,
There
time to
you
move
go.
on.
There you go.
It's time to move on.
You hit that
Yep.
expiration date and it's time to release them and
Yep.
let them go.
mhm,
Yep. You know what I'm saying? And like still what's funny is this person's family. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I still wish the best for him, but when I say we don't talk, I can see that person walking through Walmart and we literally will not speak to each other. We'll walk right by each other like nothing happened. And my thing is, hey, if that's how we need to conduct ourselves, that's
That
fine
was
by me.
deep.
I wish you well. You know what I'm saying? I love the kids. You know what I'm saying? I love the rest of the family. I still love that person. I wish them well, but I understand how we have to conduct ourselves. You know
Yeah.
what
mhm,
I'm saying? I get it. I understand it. And I'm
Yeah,
better off
because there's
for it. You know what
times
I'm
when you
saying?
got to love them from a distance for your own
Absolutely.
emotional and mental health. It has absolutely
And theirs.
nothing to do with anything else. But sometimes you got to choose you. You know,
Absolutely.
you got to choose you in the midst of the situation because sometimes their toxic abilities to be who they are, it is killing you and is keeping you from becoming all that you were intended to be. And
mhm,
so
Hmm.
I have people I have family members that I love them from a distance.
mhm. So do I.
Okay?
Mhm,
You
Because
got to.
I can't put myself in that type of relationship with you because it's not healthy for me.
mhm,
Hmm.
mhm.
And so
That's
I have to
Yep. Yep.
choose
Yep.
me in the midst of those situations. And every time, trust me, I'm going to choose Michelle.
mhm. I think
So no.
the next show. I think we need to dig more into what it means to really discern those things, how to maneuver between those things, because I think a lot of
Yeah.
people I said sometimes it's difficult to know uh what to hold on to and what to let go
Right.
of, because oftentimes
Hmm.
we associate hardship, and I hope people are listening to what y'all are saying, but we associate hardship or difficulty or unhappiness with things we need to let go of, and that it should be um things
A
that
test.
are toxic,
It's a test.
things that you've outgrown, those are things you need to let go of, things that are no benefit to
We should
I
we
think
should call that show. We should call that show the difference between the test versus being toxic.
oh, that's good. That's good.
That's good.
That's
Now
real
that's
good.
good.
That's real good.
That's what we should call, because a lot of times we're going through this test to see if we are built for each other. Like,
Exactly.
hey, we might be going through this turmoil right now, but if we make it through that turmoil, that means, hey, you know what? We
Man,
built for each other. You
listen,
know what I'm saying? Versus if you're ready to run, that might be toxic. You know what I'm saying?
there is
So
nobody.
it's a testament.
I tell you now, now y'all know I don't toot my horn at all for me, but I'm gonna tell you
Hmm.
right now, when it comes to being somebody who can get through a test, somebody who can forgive the unforgivable,
Hmm.
somebody who can love the things, love somebody through hell, some of the worst things. Oh, I come in first place. Do you hear me? First
I
place.
feel you.
If I know, let me tell you, I think if you are a person who has been thrown away your entire life, and that would be me, by your parents, you know what I'm saying, by family, people who are supposed to care,
Hmm.
people are supposed to love you, people who have mistreated, misused, and abused you verbally, sexually, physically, you know what I'm saying, emotionally. If that's all I know. My entire life, that is all I know. I am 38 years old and I have yet to you know what I'm saying, to
Do do
even
somebody that way.
to do somebody away, but to even grasp uh consistently what it is that I give. What it is like,
Huh?
I don't think people really understand what it means to get through a test and turmoil together. Like
Hmm.
that's gonna be that might have to be
I,
a show
You
right
know what? Those
I
relationships
told
are
you we
not
have to
there
make a show.
anymore
there. Mm-mm.
because I
Well,
when I got
because
married,
social media.
yep, I got married and I asked my mother. I said, "Mom, what was one life lesson that you learned during your marriage that you can share with me?" And she said, "Never start doing anything that you're not willing to continue doing."
Oh,
Yep.
gotta
Yep.
be
That's
And
a
so
good
I
one.
asked her, I said, "Why did you and dad stay together until he passed away?" She said, simply put, with a straight face, because neither one of us was willing to leave.
And see, people don't go into relationships with that mindset. When you That's why I said, when you know
Nope.
somebody's spirit in their heart, it's like, as long as you, for me personally, it's like, if as long as you don't put your hands on me, if you're not a liar, and if you're not cheating, I don't care what it is that comes our way. We gonna deal with it. I may be hurt. It may take me a minute to get over it, but trust and believe I'm gonna do my part and going through the steps to heal from it. I might not always react the right way while I'm hurting. I might not respond the right way while I'm hurting. But if you are willing to go through it with me, you willing to go to counseling with me, you willing to talk through with me, walk through me, I'm gonna keep doing my part. You know what I'm saying? And I don't care what it's, as long as them three things, them the only three things that's gonna
Hmm.
keep, that will, you know what I'm saying, get you your exit papers.
It's
But
it's so funny because like I remember having a show like this, kind of on this topic, and I had like couples on, and I had people who've been in a relationship, like single people as well, and we was talking about this, and I was like, you know what? There's so many people that say they're a fighter, but it seems like when they fight, they lose,
mm,
and that's the problem because your fight ain't that strong. Like you don't have the fight to endure the unendurable. Like
yeah,
you don't even want to say. I was like, and the reason why is because we live in this microwave
Yes,
stage of life.
yes, yes.
And I'll say that all the time, where people want stuff instantly. They don't want to, they don't want to really build nothing. They don't want to go through the struggle and strife and all that. That's why when I mention social media, you know, people can be what they want to be on social media. That's
mm,
why it kind of scares me with the meta world a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because I know it's gonna get out of hand for some folks.
yep,
Like they're gonna have identity crisis because they're going to be this and there, but in real life they're gonna be who they really are, and they're
yep.
not gonna know how to separate the two. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother show though. But I just think, people don't fight for stuff no more. Like, man, like I think about, like, we did a show on Purpose Driven one time, and Mimi wasn't home. Mimi wasn't on the show. That was another my other calls on another show, and it was the fellas. I don't know if y'all seen that show a couple years ago. I brought the whole crew onto the show. we was absent two people because they couldn't get away from work to do the show with us.
Mhm.
But us six, we've been together for over 30 years. Us six have we have a dynamic that can't know, but like it's too special. Like I am so fortunate that God decided to place these five individuals in my life. Like these dudes, man, we help grow each other up. We help groom each other into men. Like it's just it marvels me every time I think about what I got with them. And we hold each other accountable.
Mhm.
And what I mean by we hold each other accountable, you got to put your feet to the fire sometimes.
That's
You
right.
know what I'm saying? And I tell people all the time, like, it ain't, it ain't for the faint of heart.
Mhm.
Like, there's sometimes like, and we've had our fights and arguments and stuff like that through 30 years. It ain't always being kumbaya, but you know what I'm saying. We've always been able to come right back to the circle. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we got to be held accountable. You know what I'm saying? Then sometimes we all know when we on some BS too. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
tell people this all the time. I call BS on me. I literally call BS on me before anybody else can because if I do, that means there's nothing that you can expose on me.
Mhm.
I've already done that. You can't expose me for nothing. I already done that. So if I can call BS on me, what makes you think I ain't gonna call it on you? I tell people that all the time. And what's funny, and people know it. People have seen me call BS on myself in public. I've been on the radio. Y'all, come on. We've been in the circuit for a while. Y'all have seen me on radio shows call my BS out. You
And
know
you
what I'm
did
saying?
it on my
Live.
show.
Yep.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
You
So
did it on
I
my
call
show.
BS out.
Yep. Plenty of
Yeah,
time.
I call BS on me. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm gonna call BS on me, what makes you think I ain't gonna call it on you? Look. So like people know if you that close to me, I'm gonna hold you accountable. Just like I expect you to hold me accountable. If,
But a
chances are
lot of
you're
people
not
don't
gonna be
want that
able to.
anymore.
Some people don't like to be held accountable.
No.
Yeah,
Like
they don't want that.
they want to point out your flaws,
But they don't want you to point out
Mm-hmm.
theirs.
or it's always
Yeah.
tit for tat. Like I'm not gonna do
Tit for
this.
tat. That's
I'm
the
not,
killer.
or it's like I'm not gonna. And here's the thing too. Here's what I don't like. Don't do not enter into a relationship with somebody and you have conditional thinking. If I have to meet a
Yep.
condition for you to love me, if I have to meet a condition for you to feel like I'm worth the fight, if I have to meet a condition for you to you know what I'm saying, I don't want that kind of. I need something unconditional because what I'm gonna give is unconditional because I know that
Mm-hmm.
me with my flawed self, you know what I'm saying, and ratchet self and imperfect self, I'm gonna mess up.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I'm
right.
going to I'm going to say the wrong thing sometime. I'm going to and here's the thing too about me because I'm upfront with everybody with people. This and this is my past. This is why I do this. I'm still working on this. And these are my
Right.
triggers. So you know upfront whether or not you want to move forward or not. This ain't something
Deal with it or not.
Hey,
for you to understand that I'm a work in progress and you'll never see me being stuck because the 38-year-old me, I'm not the same as I was at 20. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm sorry.
if you hurt me, some things I can get over a little quicker, but some things if you hurt me to my core, that's gonna take some time. That's gonna take a little longer. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm. And it's
saying? I ain't
funny.
going nowhere. I'm
Uh,
still here though. You know?
right. But people, you know what the funny thing is now? People are quick to run after they mess up.
mhm.
Woo! What you just said.
People are quick to run after they mess up. And I you know what? And I know why. I was telling my cousin TJ this. Me and him was having this conversation, and we were talking about an individual that I was telling you all about that I don't really mess with no more. So, because he has the same falling out with that individual as well, and he asked me a question like, like to an extent, like why, like that person, act like they don't want to mess with you but they don't want to mess up. And I was like, I'm gonna explain why, because they know damn well that if you did that to them, they wouldn't mess with you.
What you said? Exactly what you said. Everything.
If you did it to them, they wouldn't mess with you. So that's the reason why they leaving you alone, because they know they have messed up to a point to where even themselves they wouldn't accept. So they now feel like I need to step off.
That's also why I think some people won't acknowledge the progress that you've made after they mess up in forgiving you. How are they still here? How can you still stand it? How are they still my friend? You know what I'm saying? I think
Hmm.
people, because they can't really grasp and understand that there are really people out here that have reached that level. One thing that my uncle used to tell me, what he gave me some advice when I got married the first time. He said, Quita, now he's the only one in my family out of all my grandma's kids. Now she had 15 kids, 9 made it to adulthood, and out of all of them, he's the only one that stayed married. He said, never go to bed angry
Yep.
because you never know.
Hmm.
Tomorrow isn't
I agree
promised.
with that. What's gonna happen?
Um,
Yep.
and I just live that. You one minute you one minute you here, the next minute you facing death. Okay. He said, never go to bed angry. And he said, never let a man, and he was talking to me since I'm a female. He was like, you never let a man tell you that
Mhm.
he don't want you more than once. And he said,
Say that again.
and he said, um, also, forgive often. He's like, because you're gonna have to do that a lot. Forgive often. And then
Yeah.
my grandmother, she taught me from I think the earliest I can remember is like 5 years old. She used to always sit down and have me sit down. She would read her word. There's not one day went by that I didn't see my grandmother. As soon as she got up in the mornings, she would start her day on her knees, and then she would come to the table with her coffee and toast with her Bible, and she would always read. And I asked her what she was reading. That's when she started teaching about the word. And one lesson she used to give me all the time was treat others as you want to be treated. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I never understood
Hmm.
it. And then as I got older, she said, Quita. Now, oh shoot, I done told y'all my family nickname. Dang. But somebody else,
Rita,
Quita, you don't know me like that. But anyway, Quita, um, she said, even when you do unto others as you would have them do unto you, they're not going to treat you that way, but you still do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I couldn't grasp that until I got older, and I started to understand what that meant. When you go above and beyond, when you stick with, when you are loyal to, when you forgive, when you extend grace, when you do all of these things for people that don't appreciate, show gratitude, you know what I'm saying, are still
Hmm.
down with you, you still do that. But I learned that even when you do that and they don't, you still reap what you sow. So you reap the benefits.
Yep.
yes,
Yep. And it's funny
definitely.
you say, about the word. My father used to always say this when he do sermons. And like before he start the sermon or even after, he would say, it's not because I've been so good that I'm here. It's because God has been so merciful. And as a as a child growing up, because like I said, wherever my father went, I was there. Like we revivals, whatever it was, wherever he went, I was there. Like I was a daddy's boy for real. Like, and he would say it all the time, and I would think, and I would try to, grasp my mind around it, and I did not get it until I was about 26 or 27. When it really hit me, like, ah. So what was funny about that was I was like, all this time my father has been saying this, and I haven't understood it, but I've been living it.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And it just it speaks volume of how you were brought up. And like we were talking about, I'm just going back to the beginning where we were earlier when we started the show, of how your parents reflect on you, or how your upbringing reflects
Yeah.
on you. And you never really truly understand it until you get to a certain age, to where now you're starting to reflect on your children or people around you, and it amazes me, because now I look at my child, I look at my son, he's 16, and I look at some of the things that he picked up from me, or he's picked up from my father or my mother or his mother, you know what I'm saying? And I look at some of these things he's picked up, and I'm like, we mold your personality, even though you are you. but a lot of who you are is from what you've seen. And like my son is not he's not a confrontational child, but just like me, he don't mind confrontation. Like, hey, I don't want it, but I ain't gonna shy away from it either, and he's an opinionated child. Like in my house, I didn't have a voice. Like I said, it was a dictatorship,
I didn't either. Don't feel right
so
now.
so I allow my son I allow my son to have a voice. Like, I always like I give him choices. I want him to make certain choices. Like sometimes his mama, she don't want to do that. Like she want to dictate. And I'm like, hey, look, you can't do that with him all the time. First of all, he ain't a knucklehead kid. So that's why you don't want to do that with him. But second of all, how is he going to do critical thinking when he goes away to college if you're always got your thumb on him?
Yep.
You have to allow him these things. You know what I'm saying? To my parents' credit, they allowed those, even though I lived in a dictatorship, but they allowed me to have so much freedom. Like I said, like I ain't have a curfew. I just had to be smart. Like I was just smart enough to understand my butt need to be at the house around a certain time.
Shoot, I don't
They
know
never sat down and said,
curfew.
hey,
I
you
had a
need to be
curfew.
home at this time.
I wish I wouldn't come in the house when I feel like it.
Yeah, listen, I'm telling you. But it's funny, Michelle, I didn't have one. Like they never ever told me, hey, you need to be back home at this time. Never once in my teenage life have they told me I need to be back home at a certain time. Like to me, to me, I was just responsible enough to understand, yo, my butt needs to be back home at a certain time. You know what I'm saying? But because, I was responsible enough to have that critical thinking, my parents allowed so much slack. Like I remember one time, the TJ will tell you this one. I remember one time me and him was out. We was probably like 18 or 19 years old. We was out and we did not get home until about 3:45 in the morning.
Oh,
no.
Now, mind you, we only 18, 19.
Oh, no.
Now, listen,
Because my
I'm
daddy
telling you so
said,
funny.
ain't nothing open
Huh?
at that time of the morning
White Castle and legs.
but White Castle or some legs. And they better not be yours.
That's it.
Listen, and Michelle, you're a PK, so you understand it.
Yeah, I do.
Me and him walked in that house at 3:47. I know the time, I never forget. I'm looking at the microwave. 3:47. My father is sitting in a recliner. My father usually up late because he worked second shift. So when he got home, it was like 11:30 at night. And he had insomnia just like I do. So he didn't go to bed right away. So we walk in and my father turns and look at us. And I just knew he was going to give it to me. I just knew it. And he was like, hey, and that was it. I was like, hey, Pop.
Oh no.
And we talked about a football, but I'm explaining why that was allowed. Like he told us when I was about 27. He said the reason I allowed that is
allowed. You are a man, and that's why it was allowed. Because trust me, if your sister would have came walking in there at
she couldn't do that.
3:47 in the morning, you would have been a whole other story.
No, you are so right.
True.
Oh my God.
I have daughters and sons. I got an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old, a 13 and 11. I got two boys together. Let me tell you something. Whatever rule applies to my daughters applies to my boys. I wish my children would come in here. And these days, anyway, you have to be in, my sir, because they snatching kids left and right, sex trafficking, all kind of stuff.
Yep.
Somebody.
Yep.
You got to be in the house at a certain time, and I need to know where you are at all times, because it ain't like it ain't like how it was when we were kids, where Miss Luella down the street, Miss so across the street, Miss is gonna watch out for your kids. People ain't doing that nowadays. So,
and if they watching for the wrong reasons.
Exactly. So now you have to be you got to be more strict when it comes to those things in order to keep your kids safe. You just got to.
One of the things that I learned in the midst of growing up, because I was real sickly when I was younger. I had horrible asthma up until I was like 14 years old. It was bad. In the hospital 3-4 times a year, couldn't breathe half the time, all of that. And so my parents became, I think, a little more protective of me.
Mhm.
And I was that kid in church that was stretched out on the back bench because y'all was taking too long and I was tired. I'm going to sleep on the back bench, and then Dad, you can carry me out to the car and in the house because I'm gonna be out. And so by the time I got to the age of hanging out with my friends and doing that kind of stuff, I'm a church girl. So the people that I hung out with was the same folks I went to church with. They were the folks in the church in the youth group with me that my mother was over. So, but my mother had a rule. If we went out, and there were times when we would all get together and go out without our sponsors, and we would go out to dinner or to the movie or something like that. My mother had a rule. And I think I was like 17 years old. She said, be back in this house before midnight. Because at midnight, the chain goes on the door, the bar goes across the back door, and if you ain't in here, you ain't getting in here until I unlock it the next morning.
I think all the girls' curfew was at midnight because my sister's curfew was at midnight. But my father told me why he allowed me to have so much slack back then. He was like, "Look, the reason why we didn't, we didn't have to come down on you is because we knew you knew, how to monitor yourself." Like he literally told me that. He's like, "That's why, He said, I remember when you walked in the house at almost 4 o'clock in the morning. He said, I didn't say nothing to you because I knew, you wasn't up to no. He's like, I knew you wasn't doing something that you ain't had no business doing. He's like, that's not child for one. You know what I'm saying? He's like, but also on top of it, I knew you wasn't gonna pull nothing like that again for another year or two. He's like, I ain't have to worry about. He's like, now your brother on the other hand, if he did it on Thursday, he gonna try to do something else on Friday.
See, now
he's like, you'd
have been getting hit.
When you did it, it was. He's like, he said, we knew you know how to police yourself. That's what my father told me. He's like, we knew.
You remember Eddie Murphy's boomerang shoe?
Yep.
Okay, my mother didn't have the boomerang shoe. She had the boomerang handset to the telephone. That telephone handset would find you. It would go around walls and corners.
My granddaddy
would find you. And the cord was so long that she didn't even have to unhook the cord. Because after it hit you, it would bounce back to her and she'd hang it up. So no, I didn't play with Martha. Now I have my moments when you think that you grown and that you smelling yourself, as the old folks used to say, you smelling yourself, girl, you smelling yourself.
Yep.
And there were times when we would go, because I had a lot of mouth, and I was that kid growing up that would be like, why, mama, why? And she would be,
I said so.
I said so. I'd be like, but why you say so? Why? And so as I got older and she would say stuff that I didn't necessarily care too much for, I would challenge it. And she would be like, Michelle, why do you always got to challenge it? Just do what I said. I said, but I'm not understanding why I have to. And so that was when, that backhand came out of nowhere.
Yep, didn't even see it coming.
Didn't see it coming. Didn't even see it when it left.
Right. You just woke up with stars. You saw stars and then all of a sudden you woke up.
So, it's really
and you understood at that moment. Just do it.
The one thing that I appreciated is she never would come back and say, that's why I did it. Because she never did that. And she would be like, you all right? And I would just look at her like, that was what you think. You just hit me in my mouth. Am I all right? And that would be it. And she would go on by her business. And I would be sitting there mad.
Better not say
Mine didn't ask if he was all right. What you talking about? Mine didn't ask if he was all right. They didn't care if you was all right. They just care. Only thing they cared about is if you did the task they told you to do.
Look,
That's
when they told you to do it.
you only had a few seconds to be sitting there. And then you better get up and do whatever it was you was originally supposed to be doing.
That's it. That's it.
You
Listen,
know, and it was really about the respect because even now, I am 55 years old. I will not talk to my mother like I hear some of these young people talking to their parents. No, 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 no. Because I have a healthy fear of mama.
yep.
She's 83 years old and she has a cane. No, no, ma'am, no, sir.
Right. What did you say? Wow.
Mm-mm.
Look, this has been listen, this conversation was amazing for the first debut of Relationshipology. We done touched on so much. So
Yeah.
you can only imagine what the rest of the show is going to be like, along with these segments that we got going on. So yeah, thank y'all for tuning in tonight. You know, we have extended almost an hour and a half, which is great. I mean, I don't know why we thought we was gonna put everything in an hour anyway, but hey,
right.
actually, the way our minds is set up. But anyway,
Right.
anybody want? I got final thoughts that you want to share?
My only final thought is, be more considerate with who it is that you're dealing with, whether it be friends, family, a loved one, someone that is intimate with you. Just be more considerate about what it is that you say or do.
I'm in total agreement with that. What I would also add to that is this. You have to learn how to love yourself before you can effectively love someone else. You have to learn how to respect yourself before you can respect someone else. And so the word of God says that charity begins at home and then it spreads abroad. However you feel about yourself is what's going to be reflected in your relationships. So take the time to do your work, do your self work, get yourself to a place and a position to when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're loving the person looking back at you. You're respecting the person looking back at you. Then it's very, very easy for you to do the same in your relationships with family, with friends, with associates, with coworkers, because it's not based on how they see you or treat you. It's based on how you see yourself and how you love and respect yourself.
Awesome. I think for my final thought, I just want to say, in dealing with relationships, any type of relationship, um, understand that it takes both parties or all parties. So, and you have to be equally committed. And you can't just be committed when things are good. You have to be committed when things are bad as well. When when you feel like the love is gone, that's when the friendship should carry you. When the friendship you think is fading away, that's when your love for that person carries you. They say, love believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. And true love, not conditional love, real, true, unconditional love will carry you through anything. Anything. So that's it. Relationships, even in business, have a certain level of respect for the person that you're going into business with, who you are partnering with. You appreciate and value what they bring to the table. So you commit to that thing. And even when things ain't going the way you think they should go, when it should go and how it should go, you stick with it. So that would be my final thoughts, because again, this is relationshipology. Together you either fall or fly. Which one is it gonna be for you? So, and that's it for tonight, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in with your girl, Lady J, and
Boy Keith Omar.
all right, and our special guest,
And
Michelle.
your girl Michelle.
All right, we are signing off Relationshipology right here on JQLM Radio. Make sure y'all don't go download those apps to listen 24/7. We got the hottest music. All right, in rotation. Never hear the same song every 5 or 10, 15 minutes. I guarantee you that. Okay. So check us out, download the app, and until next time, we out, y'all.
Peace.
The inspiration for the songs because of you. The inspiration for the songs because of you. The inspiration for the songs because of you. You. It's for you. Can you sing it with me, baby? Can you sing it with me? Yeah.